Blog Talk Radio.
Lidanyite wata alagale mowete watu kawa kungu la tucha wanitiko kaiwe yubinafi magugenu wama luni uraga labui bagari kai bukatia sabuye luni uraga labui bagari kai uruwai sabuye lidanyite wata alagale mowete watu kawa kungu la tucha wanitiko kaiwe yubinafi magugenu wama luni uraga labui bagari kai bukatia sabuye luni uraga labui bagari kai uruwai sabuye la 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 la.
Hi, this is Joseph Guerrero, but welcome to the very first Wamalali show. It's the show where we will be discussing Garifuna issues, and we will be trying to interpret as well in English and in Garifuna at the same time. Today, we're going to be speaking about something very important. That is the topic of Garifuna Nation. Garifuna people are all over Central America, United States, some people in Europe, and but we still have very common culture. We have a common culture, common language. We have common ways. So Garifuna, in many ways, is a nation without borders. So we are a nation. We are in many people in Belize. We have a lot of people in Honduras. We have people in Nicaragua, Guatemala, in Uruguay, which is now St. Vincent. We are awaiting right now some co-hosts to log on so that they'll be able to translate for you in Garifuna and in Spanish. We're awaiting will be Ruben Reyes, Jorge Castillo. But I wanted to talk with you a little bit tonight about what the show will be about. We have a guest waiting in the wings, and his name is Dr. Raymond Keller of the West Virginia University. And he is a professor in world history, world affairs, and he will be helping our conversation, to guide our conversation so that we can discuss the importance of nationhood. Who do we have here with us? Do we have, who's that, Brother Ruben, Brother Jorge?
And this is Dr. Keller.
Oh, hi, Dr. Keller. How are you? My name is Joseph Guerrero. I'm one of the hosts of the show, and we are awaiting the arrival of some of the other hosts. We will be having Ruben Reyes and Jorge Castillo.
Oh, great.
Dr. Keller, good evening. This is Ruben Reyes. Good evening, Brother Joseph.
Good evening,
Hi, Brother
Mr. Reyes.
How are you? And Dr. Keller, thank you so much for joining us today on the very first Wamalali show. And this will be a regular talk show where we will tackle hard Garifuna issues. And as I was telling the audience before you came on, Dr. Keller, one of the things about us Garinaga, one of our big issues is that when we were separated from our nation state, we had at one time a nation state. We then were taken to Central America where we actually dispersed, and if a nation is dispersed, there is no strength. It loses strength. It kind of like waters out, I think.
Yes.
And in Central America, we landed in Roatan. Our history is well known. We landed in Roatan, and we kind of radiated out to Belize, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and we also came to the United States, where many of us are now living. So our current state is basically we're scattered.
Yes.
And Brother Ruben, one moment, Brother Keller, Dr. Keller. Brother Ruben, will you mind interpreting a bit for us in Spanish and Garifuna for our listening audience?
Yeah, I biti junio, wayano he tidage Wamalali, de Wamalali to, loago lida labu ga aba barua, wagano wa dabo to Yurumi wabai, Yenge tibuga aba wasagaruno yinge wa bregulebe la Midomerica, gweti to wa heli da amu yegwena go plasu le da do baru Garifuna. Estuvimos en una nación, un estado-nación, que es la isla de San Vicente, que era llamada Yurumen por el pueblo Garifuna, pero fuimos exiliados de esa isla en el 1797, lo cual hoy día habitamos en diferentes regiones en Centroamérica.
Okay, Brother Ruben. So, right now, there is something going on, somewhat of a movement going on, and I think that the Garifuna Nation Incorporated has members that see a need for us to have a nation. We no longer have a nation state, which is a country with borders and, you have your own government, etc. But because of our common culture, our common beliefs, our common ways of doing things, Garifuna is considered an indigenous nation, and we have certain protections under the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, as well as other documents. So now, as the professor acknowledged, we're scattered and we're radiated. We're weaker as a nation, but we need to form, and we have formed, a Garifuna Nation Incorporated to act as a Garifuna government. And the purpose of this now would be to bring everyone together so that we can talk with one strong voice rather than a bunch of voices scattered all over the place and not having any bite. Brother Ruben, want to interpret for us?
Yeah, isarake buga le here o maloga batayu ume. Luma gebe wa afri dunyenge aba wa feidro nivere terilu gilagi la diwa la ugneveyu. Ano wa boundary ni buri waru Garifuna barua le na tialunduna Garifuna Nation le yetibe. Le tidati mbemna ni to lugawara la tanigini sung hamala ligarina guli doa ba lugawara la lagabunwa bogudi doi bolenye wope lugawara la tagabunne ondoro ni to waina mo lugawara la tarihi loagu le anigbe plaso loagu Garifuna ani hingeti anu luru do adutu lugawara la tesepuru no lugawara la weibugu wara ina tuma wara hama pisara waga grige ubo. Desde que salimos de San Vicente hemos perdido fuerza debido a que perdimos nuestro Estado-Nación. Sin embargo, existen leyes internacionales que son para proteger a los pueblos indígenas del mundo. Eso permite a que el pueblo Garifuna se forme como una nación nuevamente y registrado, lo cual ya se ha hecho. Entonces ahora estamos abocando a que tengamos la ayuda necesaria a través de esos reglamentos que existen a nivel mundial para defender tanto nuestros territorios, defender nuestra idiosincrasia, nuestra identidad a través del mundo y a través de las fronteras donde habitamos. Back to you, Brother Guerrero.
So, Ruben, before I introduce Dr. Keller and have him tell us a little bit about himself and then we get into a discussion, did you want to say something additional to the people as your co-host?
Yes. We see the great need to unite forces and put together what the Garifuna people have. And we are a nation. We have all the components, for a nation. When I say nation, I mean a indigenous nation. That's what we are in the Americas. And we've been exiled from our land, and we live now in communities throughout the countries of Honduras, Belize, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and now in the United States. Some of our countries have lost the language, they have lost the culture. Yeah, like in the case of Nicaragua, they don't speak the language anymore. And culture have been lost in St. Vincent, which is in the Garifuna name is Yurumin. So we are now forced to be able to do everything possible to be able to stay alive, because the same situation is beginning to happen in these other remainder countries of Honduras, Guatemala, and Belize. Nosotros entonces tenemos que velar por la unificación, tenemos que velar por la fortaleza de la nación para que podamos sobrevivir, ya que hemos perdido bastante de nuestra fuerza, de nuestra idiosincrasia, de nuestra cultura, de nuestra identidad a través de los países donde vivimos. Yeti lundu bay warihi mege wata abambarua le lunti kawara la tinyura hanu hawan garinagu lumatiluge tagambu ne la lubay hariengu ni garinagu idali bala habusero lo taidu dunwa habarwa. So, Dr. Keller, I'd like to say that we are facing the most danger of all times at this moment. Therefore, we as Garinagu are forced to be able to use what we have, and the biggest strength that we have is our unity, our identity.
Right.
Our knowledge of our origin, where we're coming from, and we also know that if we don't attach ourselves to our language, we will eventually lose our culture. But we can no longer fight separated. Some people in Belize, some people in Guatemala, some people in Nicaragua, Honduras, some people in the United States, because then the government of those countries just laugh at us when we do that. But when we bring all voices into one, the world will have to listen, and some of the people in the world do sympathize with a group of people with an ethnicity like the Garifuna, who has a lot to offer to the world, because we are a unique culture, we are a unique hybrid ethnicity in this continent.
Just one more moment before we go to Dr. Keller. I came across two very interesting issues from Garifuna people this week, Brother Ruben and Dr. Keller. And the issue is this. We are having, the Buyes are planning a get-together in New York to do something to cleanse the earth, to cleanse the land, as is consistent with our belief. And they were writing some letters and trying to arrange for some Buyes from Honduras to come to the U.S. to participate. When they went to the embassy, they were denied visas. Similarly, I know of an issue right now in Belize where some Garifuna in the U.S. are trying to work with, bring some Garifuna from Belize here so that we can get together and enjoy one another's company and share in our culture. And they too were denied. So individually, state by state, all these things happen to us. But as a nation, and using some of the international documents, it's possible we can resolve some of these issues and work with the governments of these states directly. That's just to point out an issue where separated we are powerless. And maybe if we join together in Garifuna Nation, we will be able to do something. Yes, Brother Ruben, go ahead.
Yes, I know Dr. Keller is an expert on this field, but we do have the right, to a lot of things under these conventions and also the Declaration of the United Nations as far as the indigenous people of the world. But we cannot continue to wait for the government to decide for us. This is the moment where we have to find the ways how the government will provide what we need, because they already signed for it. I do not see how the government will deny visa for a group of spiritual leaders that are coming to perform a needed cleansing in our community. Otherwise, they will not have signed those declarations of the United Nations.
Correct.
So
right.
I think we do have to start reminding this government about what it is that they signed, what are the things that they agreed to on the behalf of the indigenous people of the world.
Now, Brother Rubin, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. So let's go to Professor Keller now. Professor Keller, would you please introduce yourself and tell us a little about your work and give us a little background about yourself, please?
Yes, I'm an adjunct professor at West Virginia Northern Community College in Wheeling as World Cultures and various social studies classes, and also an adjunct professor at West Virginia University teaching the classics. But my work in the Garifuna community stems from a project that I worked on, a documentary with Dr. Maximo Martinez called Garifuna Resistance. And my wife is a Afro-descendant Venezuelan, Afro-Sulian to be specific. And I did my dissertation on the origin of her people and the diaspora in Latin America and the Caribbean.
Okay, and so your wife is also a professor.
My wife is she's from Venezuela, and I was teaching in Venezuela at La Universidad Valle de Mamboy in Valera, and also at Venusa, the Venezuela USA Academy, and I met her in my capacity of teaching and living and working down in Venezuela.
Okay, excellent. So, Dr. Keller, what do you think now that, first tell us, what is a nation? Define for us a nation versus a nation state.
Well, a nation is intrinsic to one's identity, to their ethnicity, to their language, to race, religion, and other factors. And the fact that the Garifuna do have all of these things certainly qualifies them as a nation. But as Mr. Reyes said, the lack of a contiguous territory presents a problem, because unlike the struggle of other groups that are striving for nationhood, like the Palestinians or the Basque people in the Pyrenees between Spain and France, they have a unified territory that you can clearly identify on a map. So it's very important that the Garifuna stand together, or at least form some kind of an alliance of scattered groups, so that they can stake a firmer claim on nationhood. Now, I know that there's probably more Garifuna living in New York alone, probably than in Honduras. So that's a problem as well.
So then, Dr. Keller, Brother Rubin, would you care to interpret for us what Dr. Keller just went through?
Yes, una nación, la definición de nación es el agregado de personas unidas por descendencia común, historia, cultura o lengua, habitando una área en particular, un territorio. Hemos descubierto de que, así como dijo Rubén, de que el problema del pueblo garífuna consiste en parte de que los territorios no están unidos, sino que están desmembrados. Entonces, dice que da mua tolenye hamuti bay garinagu, la rigeti lelina bay barua, aba flasu, aba hauye grigya, ha uwarwati lengenge numuti hayabi ha hechu hauragate hanyenye lumuti hagano wagile ligelila bay barua so marien gunti nyeng lau hafula itara la ke yaba ubo le hamuga ke indura o ke baliti ada ahi uwarwal bay hechu sungrige hagiele ingel bay hayabi lidaba abage hauragate barua hagia.
And just a moment, please. I want to first introduce Ruben and Dr. Keller, another co-host, which is Mr. Jorge Castillo. So he's going to be put on live now as we are speaking. Jorge, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, brother.
Hi, okay, Jorge. Thank you, and welcome to the show. We are now talking with Dr. Keller. Dr. Keller is a professor in World Affairs at is it the University of West Virginia? That is Dr. Keller?
Yes, West Virginia University.
West Virginia University. And we were just defining the Garifuna, what is the difference between a nation versus a nation state. And when, Dr. Keller, when we were in Urume, we were a nation state. When we were in Urume, we called St. Vincent Urume, that's the original name. So we were a nation state. We had our territory. We had our culture. We used the land in a certain way. We organized it as a people. That would have been a nation state, correct?
Yes, that is true. And the forced transportation in 1797 by the British. Is something that broke that state. Yes, and diffused the people throughout the Caribbean, and through no fault of the Garifuna. So, trying to get this back is trying to get a nation back. Is going to be a formidable task, but it's something that must be done if the culture, the language, is to survive.
Lidambe wafu do Yurumenge, lidamilu sedu sa gadriwengi sedu. Seidi wamuti lebuga ubaru le gawagu obey isi aba barua ubowagu. Lumage tidaligia greve halime luga wala la wagu wantni afieni le lumo pong wagrigi alumo tigawara la wabihi ni subudra gule we make rubeli do bo la de bole buga wagwad wala le dage wagaya sí de que perdimos fuimos exiliados de San Vicente en 1797, perdimos la potestad de Estado, pero sí éramos un Estado en el tiempo en que gobernábamos nuestros propios intereses en la isla de San Vicente.
So Dr. Keller, we defined a nation state which has land, borders, it has its regulatory body, its way of life. And yes. Now Garifuna is a very distinct culture across many borders. So obviously we are not a nation state. Then can we be a nation, Dr. Keller?
Yes. For example, in the United States, with the various Native American groups, they are classified as nations.
Correct.
No. And there's no reason why, although they're not geographically connected, they are considered to be nations, and nations afforded certain protections and rights to protect their cultural patrimony and their history, their languages, and there's no reason why the same thing cannot apply to the Garifuna.
Exactly. Ruben, will you please interpret?
Lelila be lengo solusia kelarato. Lau keisi le barua wama, lau so paren guena bi tiota wa mua, ida ame guena du bo, keibri lamida guameriga. Ga dati ingidua, ayu giliwong kei barua, lugawara la nyentao ongiri, tumage laundaru bo, Lungawara la Guaramu que Ababarúa, Ligibugue Ubo. Tenemos la protección definida por naciones internacionales y también instituciones, organismos, para que tengamos una protección debido a que somos una nación, a pesar de que tenemos territorios no conectados.
Dr. Keller, so we establish what a nation state is. We establish Garifuna is a nation. Dr. Keller, what are the things that you need in order to be a nation? What do you do? I mean, if my cousin is in Nicaragua, or if I, well, basically I have a lot of cousins all over in Nicaragua, Guatemala, Honduras, Belize, United States, Uruguay, probably in England, Spain, and we have similar culture. If I go to Guatemala, I know the culture. If I go to a community in Honduras, I know the culture. And if I go to Nicaragua, same thing. So what goes into making us act as a nation? What do we need to do to act as a nation across all these borders?
Yes,
sorry, Ruben, would you interpret let's have Ruben interpret the question, please.
Ya kitile lilo nonaba baruao dato nodi balisi subudi numuti echuni lenyimbe hada garina dato nodi Guadima lo Nicara o Indura subudi numuti echuni lenyimbe hada garina. Suruze kele kati wa mege rube wadigu lu gawara la wawadi gumeidu keisi ababaru. Si cuando voy a un país como Belice, yo estoy familiarizado con la cultura garífuna que existe ahí. Lo mismo con la cultura garífuna que existe en Nicaragua, en Guatemala, en Belice. Entonces la pregunta para el doctor Keller es, ¿qué necesitamos hacer para actuar como una nación?
Okay, so Dr. Kelly, go ahead and answer that question, please.
Well, in the case of the United States and the early formative years and before the Revolutionary War, there were committees of correspondence formed between the various colonies to organize the populace. Right now, the Garifuna Nation, Mr. Ramos Castillo, yourself, Mr. Guerrero, and Mr. Reyes, you are organizing right now and looking for people that have various abilities and skills that can connect and provisionally form the apparatus of government that could conceivably at some future date take over and actually represent the Garifuna people on a specific territory. Mm-hmm. And I think the problem now is that, as mentioned in the beginning of the program, the lack of a clearly defined territory on a map is a problem, because like in Honduras, the government can act with impunity to shut down radio stations, newspapers, in essence, to just silence people. But and then the problems you mentioned that were going on in Belize, these issues, keep the Garifuna Nation from evolving and organizing and coming together. So that's why it's just so important to what you're doing, to have an organization in place where they have an opportunity to actually take action across borders and be united.
Correct. Okay, Brother Ruben, you want to interpret, please?
Yeah. En Estados Unidos, antes de las guerras revolucionarias, había un comité, hicieron un comité para organizar a la población. Ustedes, el señor Reyes, el Castillo, señor Wellington, señor Guerrero y las señoritas que trabajan a la organización de Nación Garifuna están organizando una forma para forjar el aparato de gobierno para representar al pueblo garífuna y sus territorios. La falta de la definición del territorio en mapa es un problema. El gobierno calla las radios a su antojo y se mofa del pueblo de esa manera. La Belice y también están previniendo al pueblo para unirse y poder trabajar con justicia, ¿verdad?, a través de las fronteras. También laguna serunguri buage lana na ungo habuni Amerika dambugatura anyenye meha ba setanu lo hondar gwaldu no luma lo halawadi medo no hamagrigia kugia ugiri Castillo, ugiri Reyes, ugiri Wellington, ugiri Guerrero habu itu no hanyimenya mahibri anigu tida tondar gwaldu no barua hadunya abakate lelunti londar gwaldu aba uruei lungawara la lichugni gibuse lelani garifuna hani garina guluma hamua le mege begien lida lilogwa la fieso hon logo ti hamua garina gotida garada arihot lira ke abadrumande lari geti diabi uruei abalaman chegud no be Wamalali lungawara la siala hayano hagarina hamagwa luma hagampu hon garida hanyenge yabi balisi abayuma ladana agwado ni ruwe ligabi taibu gondoro ni lume heredu hamagarina go hamagwa lugawara la hawati meidu loagu hamagwa yaguro memero toy barriere tonyibo kiti hamolo tawala hakila go luna dai hawati meidu ni havala liwara lumhama indura na wadima luna ni gara wana hama America.
Dr. Keller, so what are some of the things that are necessary for us Garifuna? So, for instance, let me give you an example of what I mean. We have many various organizations in the different countries where we are. In Honduras, we have organizations like OFRANE that fights for the right of Garifuna in Honduras. You have other organizations in Belize that represent the rights of Garifuna in Belize. You have organizations, etc., in Guatemala, Nicaragua, Uruguay. Yet, they don't seem to be very effective working by themselves against powerful governments. What do they need to do then to be effective? You have all these different communities who are the same people with the same problem, split asunder and far apart. So what can be done? What can we do to fight these governments? Wait, before you answer, Dr. Keller, I'll have Ruben interpret the question, please.
Será Brother Castillo. En Central America, en Centroamérica tenemos organizaciones como la OFRANE, igual en Belice, en Nicaragua, en Guatemala, pero no son muy efectivas estas organizaciones. Doctor Keller, ¿qué es necesario para que estas organizaciones trabajen de una manera más efectiva? Yo le leer la mitad America no hondo ni que bria ofrane indura no hombriga mundo ni lida amigano tsapi memegi no guati li dise tere struse Keller ka lumbe wadini lugawara la dere bugutima lo wadi.
When you look at the different organizations that are fighting for the rights of Garifuna in various countries, it's important to look at the commonality that they have, and for the leadership of these organizations to set aside any political differences, because I mean they should be totally eclipsed by the struggle of the Garifuna for their very survival. So I also think any kind of Congress or assembly, bringing all the groups together to be convened possibly in San Vicente or maybe in Honduras or maybe even in New York might be better, a more neutral territory. Would be great to bring all the groups together and to brainstorm and come up with strategies.
And you know something, Dr. Keller? One thing that I stress upon, this is Joe Guerrero, one thing I stress upon with my people is the use of the articles of the international conventions and the declaration. What do you think, how important are those to people like us, Garinago? And Ruben, will you please interpret the last answer in the question?
No hombre ondroni, no ondroni. Again, the Voz Garifuna. Lunti halo hanika tele uwa behada sungu kagia. Lao ya beso wadima liano la balisi nigara uluma indura. Lunti halo hania bakate le uwa gwati honsungu luagu. Ya digeti dato hazizi aba ondroni damuri gole weiti. Lulonda rusunu bo. Gawara behadigi ni hamuga yurume. O indura o ibini genyu yatu kele me sefet mabe la la bidino hamonyen no bidut mala kate lumageti lunga wara la hakaba gungwa hafane hanu hasamina lumati lu hachila gutau eibu gazile to luntu uwar gwabon ta honsungo luang. Thank you, Brother Castillo. And then, yes, el señor Keller acaba de decir de que como hay organizaciones garífunas peleando por sus derechos, entonces tienen que buscar por factores comunes entre todos ellos a través de esas fronteras. Si hacen un congreso o una asamblea en San Vicente, por ejemplo, o en Honduras, o quizás en Nueva York, donde es un terreno neutral, o mejor, para que ellos puedan así, de esa manera, idearse, sacar ideas de qué manera pueden sacar estrategias para regirse.
Okay, so the question, now please answer the question, Dr. Keller.
Okay. So basically we were talking about the need to come together, the various groups to set aside their differences and come together. For some, it might not be so easy, but it's important that they do so.
Now, I believe that there exists, like I said earlier, we have many conventions that we can cite to assert our rights, and international agreements and international standards of how states should treat their indigenous people. If working together as a nation, do you think Garifuna can be effective in citing some of these documents?
Oh, yes, I do, because it provides not only a justification for the struggle of the Garifuna, but it provides a legal framework that must be respected by all the nations and enforced by the United Nations, by all the signatories, to those documents as well.
And interestingly enough, Dr. Keller, I have looked at those documents, and practically all the states in which Garifuna people now live are signatories. Yet, Garifuna people still are having trouble with governments taking lands from them, communal lands, refusing to give title, etc., and so on. Now you have organizations within those individual states who are trying to fight the government, but slowly but surely the government is chipping away.
Yes, I noticed that in Honduras, they've even denied the very name of Garifuna. rather than respect the people's right to self-identify themselves,
correct,
their own history and their heritage. They've decided that, well, they're just going to be another Afro-descendant people, without looking at, well, there's an infusion of Arawak, Carib. There's a truly forged cosmic race. It's a new people, a new culture. It's not just with their own language and traditions. It's not just another group of black people. And they, by not even recognizing the name, I mean, they're doing a big injustice, in my opinion.
I agree with you, and as you cited as well, international documents give us the right to self-identify, and it's been blatantly violated in Honduras, where the government just seems so aggressive to our Aranago brothers. But what would be the difference, do you think, if we approach the problems in Honduras? Oh, sorry, brother.
Let me move on with the answer that Dr. Keller provided. ¿Qué hay que hacer? Lo que hay que hacer, hay que adjuntar esfuerzos, hay que unirse, hay que poner a un lado las diferencias. No será fácil, pero es muy importante. Hay que adherirse a los estándares internacionales de los pueblos indígenas. Legal y también las formas legales que existen deben de ser proveídas por todos los signatarios. Estos países, estos gobiernos han firmado, y todos los países donde habitan los Garinagu son signatarios de estos estándares internacionales de protección de los pueblos indígenas. Los gobiernos, al contrario, están quitando tierras en Honduras, hasta el nombre están quitando. Sin embargo, no respetan la autodenominación de un pueblo, el derecho a la autodenominación de un pueblo. La parte arrabaca, lo están denominando afrodescendientes o afrohondureños, ignorando la parte arrabaca y caribe de estas personas, porque los Garinagu no solamente son un pueblo afro, tienen la contraparte de un pueblo arabaco y caribe. Anihe wadagna lo te hadiga ni Garinagu kibri lun hayabi uwara lido aba hafu habuli dagun lo ka tele adise da gwag de bani lo gawara la hafu lo le ayar fa da gwag de bani mahe mere mama hamuga luwa samina la mere gumbe la lira greve be meme gi luti la digni anu geti lurudu to bogu digetu to lani na ubo to mo lubaru wa ubo luti to suru no lurudu tura lumo ti ubaku le pidi guhamali be mutuhara ani fiu ha mutugerti su ubo to lenye le be hagana wa garina gunyebeyo lira ti lila bay tilira lao lunti la barase habu hama uruwe guha tau lurudu yutu lu garifuna indura anuho flasu wagida hoa mama zu flasu anihi ge ibini iri la pa ge uruwe lula gidaro ni iri garinagu lao ye besun yu la hun garinagu lu hawa gu hongo kei habu seru ani yu tilira labgeli lurudu bo lihingi mamorzi la agine ne hada Garinagu alihingi le aba hamida lenye bebe hada ge rawagu hamakariban. Back to you, Brother Guerrero.
Brother Guerrero, I have a question if you have a moment.
And that's Jorge Castillo. Dr. Keller, who has a question for you. Go ahead, Brother Jorge.
Yes, Dr. Taylor, when in a situation when a country signs an agreement, what is the priority of the law in that country in terms of applying the convention and the common law in that country. La pregunta que yo tengo, cuando un país firma un convenio, ¿cuál es la orden de prioridad de ese país a ese convenio?
Okay. All right. Well, since the signatories were authorized by the federal government of the country, the particular country in question, it has national applicability, and it supersedes local jurisdictions and local laws, because it should be federally enforced because it's an agreement to an international accord.
So, Dr. Keller, Garifuna people then need to organize together across borders and have one body that represents all the communities. And how can they then use that ability, that power, that organization to better things in each state where Garinagu are? Ruben, you want to interpret?
No, I wasn't ready for that, though.
I was asking Dr. Keller that about the fact that we have all these different Garifuna communities who are working as individual organizations in individual states. And as we've heard Dr. Keller say that we would be more effective working through one body in all these states. So how can we do this to make this effective? How can we do this, Dr. Keller? What are the steps that a nation would have to take in order to get this done? Ruben?
Sí, de acuerdo a lo que dijo, bueno, como la comunidad garífuna están trabajando a través de diferentes organizaciones en un estado definido. Escuchamos que dijo el doctor Keller de que sería más efectivo trabajar a través de una organización, ¿verdad?, afrontando a este estado en particular. La bandi garífuna bandi hondaru garinagu nadagime lida aba ubo ke tigamuga indu. Yani lere te frusia la ubidutima bela lungo wadi medu labuge aba ere le muhiditima ti labuge hamala sungarina. Ayla bubara gumba.
Okay,
back to you.
Yes, provisionally, I think if various efforts were undertaken in different countries to push for more autonomy and secure footholds, if you want to call it liberated zones, that there could be something worked out in the long range to eventually have an area or areas of an actual Garifuna nation. For example, Jews scattered throughout the world have the right of return to go emigrate to Israel whenever they want to go, and they can have a passport. They can have an Israeli passport if they've never even set foot there. They have a claim to it, and I understand that some efforts were underway in Uramain and in San Vicente to do something to do something like that to provide citizenship for any Garifuna that wanted to return. I don't know what has happened to that effort, but if similar efforts at Garifuna citizenship could be established in other areas, in other zones where Garifuna live, then in the long range it would make this whole process a lot easier.
Okay, Ruben, before you interpret, I just want to say this. After Ruben is finished interpreting, Dr. Keller, I will give you an update to what you just said regarding Urume and citizenship. Go ahead, Brother Ruben.
Okay. Hay varios esfuerzos en diferentes países, o mejor dicho, si se hacen varios esfuerzos en diferentes países para una mejor autonomía y asegurarse una zona libre, ¿verdad?, liberada, a la larga esto puede crear una actualización para la Nación Garifuna. Por ejemplo, el pueblo judío a través del mundo pueden emigrar a Israel. Tienen derecho a clamar a Israel como tierra suya. Y sé de que San Vicente ha estado en plática sobre proporcionar ciudadanía a los garínagos para que ellos puedan regresar, los que quieran de ellos. Sin embargo, no sé dónde ha de estar el caso en este momento. Aho digo ame gwena wadagman una barna gwena plato o bole nyele be hakano garinagu mene gumbay lu gawara la haguru aba mole hani lida gwana plato li lu gawara la ha subudi ragu hongo subudi lemege uru ila mama la ni mole la hani la garinagu lilo gume gawara be luwara dagu tubara segu barua itarake hadagu huriu haubo gubanya so hagia gabarati Israel gabarati harego lagu gamoa hama Israel adanyena suhuri anihi geti yano nugati plaso lagu meme hadihi garinagu lume yurume na hama guga hadatu gura meme gi halieni tula yano leo rato lagu ruwe de yurume belu lichugo hagara tankarina lenye lo hamuti lugawara la hagiru do habu senti hadage no yurume.
The citizenship issue, Dr. Keller, has been an ongoing thing in Urume, where they were considering granting citizenship or to have some kind of relationship with the Garifuna, because they recognize that that's the beginning, the start of the Garifuna culture. And in fact, just last week, Sunday, in New York, the leader of the opposition party in Urume, his name is Armin Eustace, he pledged and he announced that if he wins the next election upcoming, he will grant to all the 700,000 or so approximated population of Garinagu, he will grant honorary citizenship. That's an update that I have for you. Brother Ruben?
I want to make it. Anoho yalo logo to habihi Garinagu hagarada lomage uruwe yurume. Dimasu le asigirbe vei dimasu yaran yaka dugote abaundo ninye. Ayano te ugri Justus arenga te ahinde glaganyera lumelige bala le iseri ruwe madise lao lichu bala hagarda sun sedesa demi milu garina gu haubo bai lugar la hagura gu hongo que yurume na lugar garda ma que yurume. La práctica sobre la ciudadanía se ha estado llevando a cabo en San Vicente. La semana pasada, el día domingo, hubo un evento en Nueva York donde el señor Justus, quien es director de la oposición del Partido Democrático, del nuevo Partido Democrático de San Vicente, dijo que si él gana las elecciones próximas, él le garantizará ciudadanía honoraria a todos los 750,000 garínagu que existen en el mundo.
So what's your reaction, Dr. Keller, to what I just told you about what the leader of the opposition is offering?
Well, I think it's a terrific. It's a move definitely in the right direction. It'll give the Garifuna a foothold on the country of origin. But I hope it's not just talk, and that the gentleman follows through on it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that would be very good. Yeah, if he follows through, that would be, I think, a historic point in Garifuna history. So, Dr. Keller,
I'm going to. Es importante de que eso se dé a cabo y esperemos de que no solamente sean palabras. A grupo todo lo Wamalali muri la lira dobi and you Hungarina. Now my question to Dr. Keller, and this is Ruben Reyes. Now, following up in the question made by Brother Jorge Castillo regarding what are the priorities of the law, whether the constitutional or the signed agreement within the government, my question is, what kind of platform, and is there a need for a judicial platform in the country in order for those laws to be implemented or those standards be implemented in the Garifuna, in the government where the Garifuna reside? Mi pregunta para el Dr. Keller es, dándole seguimiento a lo que dijo el señor Jorge Castillo, si cuál es lo que toma precedente, o sea, las firmas, cuando el gobierno firma un arreglo, ¿verdad?, una orden que viene de las instituciones internacionales, cuando tiene que optar por proteger a los pueblos indígenas de su país, ¿qué es lo que toma precedencia? ¿La ley del país, la constitución del país, o la nueva ley firmada con la entidad internacional? Esta es mi pregunta. Nada que tahaña, kata itimala ahenihi lupe luti la tijunu alida bakere la ipiu alila taradu umalubaru wa ubo o hama ondo ni bogu dietio kata ila frumire la tijunu alira o tarihi no ligarda ubo o anihi megeti o anihi luti la fase hon lida ubo le lubage taranda luru bogu dien. I'm done with my question.
Okay, Dr. Keller.
All right. The only way that an international treaty or law could be superseded would be if the Supreme Court or the tribunal within that country decided that for some reason it was unconstitutional. Then it could be superseded, but I don't see that happening because a legitimate government within those countries are the ones who actually signed their agreement to it.
Okay. La única forma como un tratado internacional puede caer debajo de una constitución nacional de un país es si la Corte Suprema de Justicia, por ejemplo, lo rinde inconstitucional. Pero no vemos eso en la cercanía, debido a que cuando un mandatario firma uno de estos tratados es porque es correcto y no viola las constituciones de sus países. So abar guye gaburi lunga wara la masgiru ta daradu poli da abageire. Ahon teiha Corte Suprema logo mamala buiti lunga geire. Memegi dato fiularu aba uruwe gara da to lila belira bidu ta ani lunti tadugunu alida ubawligi. Thank you.
Okay. So, Jorge, do you have any more questions for Dr. Keller?
Not at this moment. No, este momento. No lo puedo.
Okay, Dr. Keller, I'll give you at this point an opportunity to say something to the Garifuna people and any last words from you, and then we can continue on with our conversation.
Well, thank you for the opportunity of being on your program, on your premiere broadcast. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Guerrero, Mr. Reyes, Mr. Castillo, and also Mr. Ramos for your ongoing work to bring a new day for the Garifuna and the Garifuna Nation, wherever they may be, not just in Honduras or in Uruguay, and it's a pleasure to be working with you, and also my associate, Dr. Maximo Martinez, and having produced the Garifuna Resistance documentary with him. It opened my eyes to a situation of the diaspora that I hadn't considered too much beforehand, but I see the great importance of securing the rights of the Garifuna people wherever they are. And thank you very much.
Okay, Dr. Keller. Oh, Ruben, you want to interpret, please?
Sí, muchas gracias al señor Guerrero, señor Reyes, señor Castillo, señor Ramos, por sus trabajos corrientes, continuos, para traer nueva esperanza al pueblo garífuna donde sea que se encuentren. Es un placer trabajar a favor de esta nación y poder ayudar en lo que se puede. Y me siento un poco más conocedor del asunto de los garínagus gracias al trabajo de un documental que se llama Resistencia Garífuna, el cual elaboré con el doctor Máximo Martínez. Y me siento honorado para poder servir aquí. Sereme, Ugri Guerrero, Ugri Reyes, Ugri Máximo, Ugri Ramos, lo hago Dagman, le hago Beato, lo que va a la Hanugi serie Menigini, Hongarina, Leñen Hamuti. Saragu Nikunda, lo hago Subutimaha, la Hongarinagu, la diga Napa Wadagmanu, lo Abadawa, lo hago ti Ungu Habuni. So, we're Rusia Máximo Martínez. So, Baragoma, back to you, brother Guerrero.
Okay, so and at this point, we'll let Dr. Keller go and thank him so kindly for his time, for speaking with us, and for answering our questions, and for his encouragement. And we enjoyed having you and Dr. Keller in the future. I hope that we can call upon you again for your advice.
Oh yes, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, sir. You have a great evening. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Dr. Keller.
Thank you.
So, Ruben and Jorge, excuse me, we were talking quite a while with Dr. Keller. He was good to spend so much time with us and to answer our questions. And I think what he had to say was very interesting. What do you guys think?
Bueno, lo que yo pienso, nuestros ancestros nos regalaron una canción. Y el buen herega, that's the good me, the chile bebé y la guía de mí. Viva Wamalali, Toriele, ya que te me ayurume, ya que te Honduras, poniendo Achilagua Garino. Nuestros ancestros nos regalaron una canción que nos dice, el tiempo que ha pasado volverá de nuevo. Our ancestors left us a song that says, time that has passed will return again. We have lived this time in our history. The only difference is that we may be forgetting our history. There's no reason for us to be afraid to claim our right. No hay razón por la cual tenemos que tener miedo para reclamar nuestro derecho. Solo tenemos que repasar, we just have to review our history. Tenemos que repasar nuestra historia. Así, de esta forma, unirnos para enfrentar los casos que están o los problemas que estamos sufriendo en estos momentos. We just need to come together as a group, as people, so that way we can fight for our rights, and that is due to us. We don't need to apologize to anybody. No le tenemos que pedir perdón a nadie cuando nos están pisando el pie, when they are stepping on our foot. We have rights. Any other interpretation of the international law that would deny us our rights locally should not be accepted by the Garifuna people. No debemos dejar que violen nuestros derechos.
Well, it is interesting how Dr. Keller ratified the fact that we've been preaching that we have the right to our own government. We have the right to our own land. We have the right to our own autonomy. As Garinagu, we are a nation. This is good news to a lot of Garinagu people that are hearing it from a person that is an expert in building nations, who has been in 44 countries throughout the world, and he has a vast experience. And he has done a particular work about the resistance, the Garifuna resistance, the documentary. Es interesante la forma como el doctor Keller viene a ratificar lo que hemos estado predicando a nivel de nación, de que nosotros somos una entidad única en el mundo, nosotros somos un pueblo autónomo y debemos de luchar por la autonomía de nuestros territorios. Somos una nación debido a las características únicas que compone el pueblo Garifuna. También él ratifica el hecho de que las leyes internacionales superseden a las leyes nacionales de un país. Si estas leyes son firmadas por un mandatario, van primarias, tienen privilegio sobre la Constitución de la misma República, a menos que sean rendidas inconstitucionales. En el caso del pueblo Garifuna, en el caso de la presión al pueblo Garifuna, no es inconstitucional. Por esa razón, la Corte Suprema todavía no declara inconstitucional los estándares logrados por las entidades internacionales. Solusia Keller, luego Obole Garifuna, Wongwa in Diwala, la Nihila Wech Wongwa, la Tigaduna Malagien, Lua Pagun, Lua Bihin Waruete Wongo, the Gavara la Waipa Guaguno, Wagina Wongo, Casey Level Wayuna. And Aringa Tigi Abacati la Bunkli o Manu Sunka Compromege o Bon Lu Ababaru, Lubaru Oma, Ubole, a Lageti Agambit Nagatilago, and Guna Pasaragula, Lela Lurudu, Lea Bella Gaduati, Lido Aba Ubo, lidage londaru bo ligela prumeti lubage tubage lurdu abaubo kebi hamoge endura toti lurdu barua to lubarua ubo tombo hanga Naciones Unidas lubarage to lurdu endura ahen gubai gutiabi Corte Suprema rienga lau mabuido la lurdu lige abia solele baitile lau sunta lurdu tobogu dige bon tuma ke tulubarua ubo lonti tagume seruno na dagi me endura lo tarei duno sunto hamatu ubo achiguli hama bisara wagalida wagela.
At this point, gentlemen, I am going to introduce, to join the conversation, Brother Wellington Ramos. He is an adjunct professor at Puerto Rico College in New York, and he is also a member of Garifuna Nation Incorporated. Brother Wellington Ramos, are you there?
I'm here, my brothers and sisters. Good evening, everybody.
Okay, good evening. Now, Wellington, we are trying to interpret among us as we talk so that we can have everyone understand. So, did you have the chance to listen to Professor Keller?
No, I didn't listen to Professor Keller because I was having problems getting into the program, but I heard that his topic was going to be on the legal justifications for the nationhood and the process.
Yes, in fact, what Garifuna Nation is trying to do, Wellington, he basically said, yes, that's the direction that you need to go. You need to form a nation, form a body, and work cohesively as a nation. Right now, Garifuna people, we have many organizations, but we are weak. As you know, one organization here, one organization there, we're weak. But if we put our efforts and combine our efforts, we just may do something.
Wayano haya luago lerengo srustia Keller luago yula anibidula hawadi media la ichigud no tumbarua lido aba ondaruni lelube la hereta gdini la dega reti gweto dato gibi wata ondo le la dagi melida ame gweno plasu la imachigud na to madere dugutia la gilagi la tugia. Back to you, brother.
Okay. So, Wellington, what do you think about the concept of a nation, a Garifuna nation? Is it something you think that's called for at this time?
I'm saying that I'm for Garifuna nation 100% because originally we had a nation in Urume. It was dismantled by the British on March 11, 1797. We were removed to Honduras. And then we subsequently went to Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Belize, and the United States. And we are unique in our own way. We are autonomous. But in these countries, we are seen as different people, and we are having a lot of problems in these countries. So we have to establish nationhood across the borders where we live.
Yo estoy 100% por la Nación Garifuna. En 1797 fuimos removidos para Honduras y luego a Belice, Guatemala, Nicaragua y ahora en los Estados Unidos. Nosotros somos autónomos, pero somos vistos como personas diferentes, como grupos diferentes a través de estos países. San lo hago san ningún dato Garifuna barua. Lida berum 1797 lige wadi runo linduro. Yenge aba wagume ni lamita America tibi balisi wadi malu Nicaragua weto lamita America luweto America. Wagi aba undoni wagi aba Grigia ha hongo habuti bongo habuti. Ani amu yegwenu gileati ligabri wari hino ati bagero tonengi moti wagano. Back to you.
Okay, so gentlemen, how does Garifuna people, how do we get together and start to work and function as a nation? Is it a difficult task that you guys are undertaking, that we're undertaking? Let's go around the table. Jorge?
It is a difficult undertaking. Es una obra bien difícil, porque en cada sociedad In every society hay diferencia. There are differences. There are political differences. Hay diferencias políticas. Hay diferencias religiosas. There's difference in faith, and there's difference in political difference as well. Pero el momento en que nosotros nos encontramos is being critical. In the moment that we find ourselves is very critical. This is what we face around the world, in particular in Honduras, lo que estamos pasando en estos tiempos, en particular en Honduras, es que es similar a lo que nosotros confrontamos en Uruguay. It is similar to what we faced in Uruguay. Y what the government es un gobierno que nos quiere destruir. It's a government that wants to destroy us. They want to take over our land without giving us not even a chance to be part of the general conversation. No quieren usurpar nuestras tierras y que nosotros seamos parte de la conversación. Nos están tratando menos que un humano. They are treating us less than human. Why? Si nosotros somos la gente más progresiva en el mundo. We are the ones that progressive people in the world. You put us anywhere, we will survive. Nos pones en cualquier sitio, nosotros sobreviviremos. ¿Por qué Honduras? ¿Por qué los países donde vivimos nos consideran menos que humanos? Why do they consider us less than human? We have not. Nosotros no le hemos declarado ninguna guerra a ningún país donde vivimos. We have not declared any war against any country that we live in. Why do they treat us this way? Why do they then find when we react in a certain way to be offensive to them? ¿Por qué ellos, cuando reaccionamos de cualquier forma, es una ofensa para ellos? Recordemos, hermanos, que cuando nosotros dejamos nuestras armas en el campo de batalla, when we left our arms in the field of war, then we agreed, and the countries agreed that they were going to protect us. Los países se pusieron de acuerdo que nos iban a proteger. ¿Por qué ahora en día están cometiendo o quieren cometer genocidio contra nuestro pueblo? ¿Qué hemos hecho para merecer eso? What have we done to deserve this? There's no place to run, brothers and sisters. We have to stand up for our rights. No hay lugar donde correr más, hermanos y hermanas. Tenemos que luchar por nuestros derechos.
At this point, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, brother. I'm done.
Okay, at this point, I think, gentlemen, we should all say hello to our audience in Belize, Honduras, Nicaragua, U.S., Uruguay, wherever they are. Just want to say hello to everyone. And a very special hello, by the way, to Brigitte Sambala Vrautigan, who is in Nicaragua. And she used to be a Garifuna queen, gentlemen, in Nicaragua. So I want to say hello to my friend Brigitte. How are you, Brigitte? And please tell your friends to join us for the next show in Nicaragua. Okay. You gentlemen want to say hi to our audience as well?
I want to close by saying that our people are confused between their cultural identity and their national identity. So we have a big task at hand. We have to try to educate our people to believe that even though we were born in these countries, we have citizenship from these countries. We are not treated as if we are citizens of these countries because of our ethnic identity. And this ethnic identity is the thing that is killing us, because I believe that when the British removed us from Uruguay, they wanted to exterminate us because they didn't have no intention of seeing the Garifuna culture surviving over a period of time. Now it happened that we number about 700,000, which is a force. There are many countries in the world that don't have 700,000 people. Now we have to try and get our people together and let them know that even though none of our ancestors had organized themselves to talk about Garifuna nationhood, Garifuna nationhood was something that was always among us. Because in the old days when I was growing up in Dangriga, I used to hear the old people say, Mama ta wa flasole, and ya wa flasole, dise be yage, they give be yurume, wa flasole. That means that Belize doesn't belong to us. We are not from Belize. There is a place called Yurume that is far away from here. That place is where we originally came from. And the same is said to our people in Honduras, Guatemala, and Nicaragua. That was a constant drum that was beat. So there is no way we can separate ourselves from Yurume.
And finally,
at the same time, we have made and built our roots, for 218 years in the Central American area, and we are older than all the states. That makes us a nation and indigenous people to this region. Therefore, there is not such a force or law that can evict us because we belong here. So we have the right to claim our motherland. At the same time, we have the right to remain in our homeland.
Correct.
Lo que acabo de decir es que nosotros tenemos todo el derecho de residir en las áreas donde estamos en Centroamérica, debido a que nosotros nacimos aquí, estamos aquí antes del Estado. Somos más viejos que el Estado en la área centroamericana. Pero eso también nos permite el derecho a reclamar el derecho a la madre patria nuestra, que es San Vicente. Al mismo tiempo, derecho de permanecer en nuestra patria corriente, que son los países centroamericanos. Gabarati, Walugunu Yurume Kiwani, Memigi, Gabarati Nye, Walugunu Lamida America Kiwani, the Yabuga, La Deira, Waubo, Dabele Lapuga Chumbe, Ke Indura, Lugawara La Gagara, Dan La Plaza Lira Ke, Lugongo Habula, Nye Hayagarina Lubagi Indura, Lubagi, Balisi Lubagi Nigarawa, Dambo Tonye, Wabe, Alani Girubuga Tibanya, the Galizno again Bomutra, Lubagi, Linye Hadabula Wongo Hab. Body, Brother Wellington, Brother Joseph.
If you can give me 1 second, I just wanted to do something. Quiero hacer algo. Y eso es felicitar a la comunidad garífuna de Baravieja por haber ganado el caso legal que estuvo contra Endura Resort y los otros organizadores que querían desalojar a nuestra gente de Baravieja. I just want to take a moment to congratulate the Garifuna community of Baravieja for the legal victory they had against the Endura Resort and those who wanted to kick them out. Eso es un buen ejemplo para nosotros. That's a good example for all of us, Garinagu, para pelear por nuestros derechos. Porque el año pasado, because last year, Baravieja faced the military, the police, and they stood up. Baravieja se paró, enfrentó a los militares y a la policía, y ahora han ganado un caso judicial, and I want to congratulate them. Pero también quiero darle las gracias y también el reconocimiento a la organización garífuna de Ofrane, porque ellos lucharon cuando vinieron los policías, los militares, when the military and the police arrived, Ofrane was there. Cuando llega, y en este caso Ofrane también estaba presente. Así se representa el pueblo. That's how you represent the people. Be there when we need you. Cuando necesitamos de una organización que nos represente, tiene que estar presente cuando lo necesitamos. No esconda, do not bury your head like an ostrich in the sand. No metan la cabeza como la avestruz en la tierra, sino que deféndanos. Y es que ustedes están diciendo que nos están defendiendo. Nuestra gente se están fijando en lo que está pasando y ellos van a ser los jueces cuando llegue el tiempo de juzgar a cada una de esas organizaciones. Our people are judging what is going on, and they will be the final judge as to where these organizations are going to end up. That's all I wanted to say, brother.
This is Joseph Guerrero, and before I go on, I just want to say, gentlemen, we got a message from someone in Nicaragua, and it says, I want to say greetings to all of you lovely people out there. Love you guys. Okay, I hope that the Garinago in Nicaragua continue listening, and I hope that our audience there grows, and not only the audience, but we need to be in touch with you guys in Nicaragua. So please, on Facebook, you can reach any one of us, Joseph Guerrero, Ruben Reyes, Jorge Castillo. Okay, you can reach any one of us on Facebook and friend us, and especially some of those organizations in Nicaragua. We would love to be in touch with you because we want you to be a part of the Garifuna Nation as well. We don't want you guys to feel isolated. You have never been isolated. We've always been here for you. So let's open up some communication, and this way we can stay in touch, and we would love for you guys to have the language back. So let's work on this, okay, Nicaragua? And thank you, Nicaragua, for listening. Keep listening. So, gentlemen...
I'd like to do a little bit of that, did that draft in Spanish. Es un placer tener un mensaje de una persona de nuestras, de Nicaragua. Es importante que tengáis vuestra participación en la Nación Garifuna. Nunca los hemos aislado, nunca hemos dejado de mencionarlos y trabajar por ustedes, igual que por otra parte, áreas de Centroamérica. Entren, manténganse en comunicación, comuníquense con las personas que acaban de mencionar los nombres en este programa, para que de esa manera tengan ustedes una voz más fuerte y que venga directamente desde Nicaragua o de los representantes que ustedes tengan aquí en Estados Unidos. Gunda toga butume gaba itu Nicaragua kie sento lo ge honda rutido mbaru to la digale idu tu ani wa dinwe de kwa gunda taragu bugunda grupo to tilo hincha balahu habu wamo lugawara la weher du simalita.
Okay, and I also want to remind our audience that we have a Facebook page, Garifuna Nation, Facebook page, and we have a website, GarifunaNation.com. So to keep in touch with what's going on in terms of the Garifuna Nation, please go to those sites, or like I said, contact Ruben Reyes, Jorge Castillo, Joseph Guerrero on Facebook, and to get involved. We want Garifuna people to get involved in your nation. This is your nation. If you are in Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Belize, United States, and every neighborhood has its own organization, and we don't work together, we only work separately and don't cooperate, we're doomed. It's that simple. We must work together as a nation. There's no excuse not to work together as a nation. One organization can never, ever save Garifuna, but a nation can. Can one of you guys interpret for me, please?
Sí, tenemos la página web garifunanation.com. Favor de comunicarse con Rubén Reyes, con Wellington Ramos, con Jorge Castillo, con Jerry García, con Charmaine Sacasa, con Bernardo Guerrero, que son las personas que están a la dirigencia de este grupo. Estamos aquí para trabajar por ustedes, estamos aquí puestos por ustedes. Lunti, gavara la habelu rutido, la fase de mure, lo habelu con Garifuna Nation, com. Lo halin hawawagu, lo mogeti lo haduru no nyinge, gawara la muga harufu dunika la habuse rube luta digini barua to, la digale huma geti abi barua to, ani hunta wadi maida, ani hugia tila na bain. Tungondoroni, gabara tutida barua to, eibu hibe ondoroni belu tutida barua, eibu mebuidu timala, honi grunu ondoroni to, loi habelu rumema busige tutido.
And I want to say one thing. I said that was my last word earlier, but I just want to say something. All the members of the Garifuna Nation currently for the year or year and a half that we've been together, not one of us has received a dime in the name of the Garifuna people or the Garifuna nation for the effort that we have put together. Quiero decirles que por el año o año y medio que hemos estado luchando por la causa de nuestra gente garífuna, ningún miembro de esta organización ha recibido un centavo por el esfuerzo que hemos hecho a favor de nuestra gente garífuna. Ustedes van a ver pronto el esfuerzo que estamos haciendo, que mientras otros están hablando, nosotros estamos haciendo por nuestra gente. Yo personalmente, I do not want a dime from the Garifuna, in the Garifuna name. Yo personalmente no quiero ni un centavo en el nombre de Garinagu. Yo lo hago voluntariamente porque yo pienso, because I think this might be the last hope for the Garifuna people. Porque yo pienso que esta es la única esperanza para nuestra gente. Dejemos lo que nos separa. Let's leave aside what separates us, and let's come together as people for our children and para nuestros hijos en el futuro. Gracias.
I would like to say, to end my participation, that Garifuna Nation is an organization that requires the other organizations to be strong. This is an organization that is formed by Garinagu from all over the world, not just one particular place or one particular country. We have people working together from different places. So please join the organization movement, because this particular organization in the villages, in the countries, are fighting for their rights, are fighting for their identity, and we need a group that unify them all to raise their voices internationally, and that is called Garifuna Nation. Tenemos que unificar nuestros esfuerzos bajo esta bandera Garifuna, bajo este estandarte, bajo esta organización llamada Garifuna Nation, porque estamos compuestos por personas de todas partes de los lugares de donde vivimos, de todos los países. Necesitamos que cada organización se una a este esfuerzo, a este movimiento, para poder servirles mejor y ser más fuerte en lo que hacemos. Busqueto alusun la garina gosubu direi lao anuha tapa ondaruni tolun tutarihi luagun le mege behata garina go. Fules beluhu mati don ondaruni to lu gawara la wa ser wadagmano le watugbe litahaba tu here la Wamalali lu bo lu waradagu sun wamat ma sierunti la here gubela. Anu ondor ni here be tu belura meme tiene duhenu gusiyati na hasubu diru law gawara la wadugni hauru halu bay habeluru la diga richati wadagmanule ani liye gunyen emeri lu abala gitawa seruni duma ondara di hada sungari la gubo. Ruben Reyes house tereminiahu. Back to you, Brother Joseph Guerrero.
The address that people can reach us is garifunabarua@gmail.com. Again, garifunabarua@gmail.com. They can send us comments. They can send us questions, comments, whatever they want to do. garifunabarua@gmail.com. That's GARIFUNABARUWA@gmail.com.
Wachulura gari nagu waguya gari nagu waguya gari nagu waguya yehelu mutigu wachulura gari nagu waguya